Now, let me introduce the speaker of the day. Welcome, Dr. Deepak. He is the founder of this AFS Talk, and also he's an aquaculture research scientist in Australia. Today, he will be sharing his experience in planning aquarium. So, welcome, Dr. Deepak, and stage is all yours.
Thanks very much, Pradesh, for detailed introduction. Let me share the screen. Is that visible?
Yes.
Full screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks very much for all of you joining this talk. I can see 45 people, probably more people are coming in. As Pradesh mentioned, yeah, he gave a bit of introduction about me, but I just thought I will just brief what I am actually. I work as an aquaculture technician for Pascal Appealing Company, and also as a research officer there. Apart from that, I'm also a research associate with the Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory, and also I have run my own firm as director of the Rainbow Analytics. So mainly providing research services like data analysis and also teaching online, courses on statistics and programming. So, and AFS Talks is an initiative that we started last year. It's almost going to be 1 year by next talk. It will be 24 speakers, and this is my second talk in the AFS Talk series. So that's just brief about me. Planted aquariums is the topic we are going to talk today. Is nothing about. It's not an experience from my work. It's an experience I earned from my just being passionate doing aquariums, and I got inspired by one of my junior from my alma mater. One day he posted a picture of a small aquarium in the Facebook or Orkut, I think, probably Orkut, and the small aquarium was this was just too small, but full of plants in it, and I was so amazed looking at it and wondering how he grows that much plants in a small aquarium, and that's how I got interested and learned about planted aquariums as a completely different concept of traditional aquariums. I was, and I also seen people misunderstood when I say planted aquariums. It's just an aquarium with plants. It's really not. There is a lot of science behind it. And I, as a fisheries graduate, I thought I knew most of it, like how to do an aquarium. But after doing a planted aquarium, I realized there is so much more to learn from just by doing it. And today, I'm assuming all of you know the basics of doing a normal aquarium. So today, the slides I have here is from another talk, which was designed for a 2-3 hours talk. So I have cut out a lot of slides from it, as we have only 40 minutes. So I'm going to talk about things that are specific to planted aquariums, assuming you all know the basics of doing a normal aquarium. The different types of aquarium. I don't know how much all of you are aware about it, but you will hear, obviously a freshwater aquarium, marine aquarium, but again, when you go to freshwater aquarium, you have this cichlid aquarium, which is where people just keep cichlids, and there's a variety of cichlids with different colors, and then the water quality parameters are completely different for that type of aquarium. Then there are biotope aquarium, imitating the natural look of a river system, and only inhabiting, keeping fish from that ecosystem. So it's just a replica of a in natural ecosystem, probably a creek or a river or something. That's a biotop. Uh, and planet occurrence is completely again different. The focus is on the plants rather than the fish. But again, you have a limitation with the type of fish you can keep in a planet aquarium. Within planet aquariums, we have different types again. So you can see here, I have shown 4 types here. One is a Dutch style aquarium. Let me get my pointer here so I can just show you. So that's a Dutch style aquarium, and the thing here is you have different plants, but they are all grown as a bunch. So you see different colors, but at one spot there'll be only one type of plant, and this gives you can arrange them differently, uh, and it gives a different look. Um, some colors are more in some areas, and some other colors in some other areas. So that's a Dutch style. Um, the second one here is Iwami style, and it's a Japanese term. Um, so in this type of aquarium, its focus is on the carpeting plants, like they don't grow very much, so but they grow like the lawn in your garden. Uh, and there won't be too many species of plants. It will be just focusing on one plant, but that will be a carpeting plant that grow along the surface of the substrate. And there'll be like big stones here. Japan, I think they call it Seryu stones. A particular type of rock formations, they arrange them in a particular style, and that's called Iguami style. um, Jungle style is basically no real arrangement, but you do plant uh, like a Dutch style. But there's more plants of a particular type in an area, but there's no real, they can grow in between. uh, you don't maintain it, you just let it grow or overgrow, and then it becomes like a jungle. So that's the jungle style. And then there's the last one here is nature aquarium. So basically here you actually try to imitate real nature. So people just go to the forest, some beautiful areas, and focus on one particular landscape that is a real one, and try to imitate that in an aquarium. So that's what you call a nature aquarium. But the term is loosely used. So basically all of them people call it like a nature aquarium because they are live. There are no plastic plants here. Everything is live. So yeah. And the left there are two pictures here. On the left one is an aquarium by James Findley, and he is and the green machine is his company. And there are several videos of him and the YouTube if you want to check. And this is one aquarium that I got very interested in, and decided to choose this as my first aquarium. Basically, I try to imitate the same one, and the right one is the imitation, but it's not exactly same looking same. But even though I tried, I didn't get all the raw materials, but at least you could see is the dimension of the aquarium is, but it's exactly same. Uh, but I didn't get the stones, which it looks like wood here, but they are actually stones, and I didn't get any stones that imitate like that. Uh, and when once you start doing, you try to do different experiments, so it actually ended up like that, uh, like a small Dutch style aquarium. You can see some red plants in the middle, and the left and right green ones, but they are all different species. And there are some carpeting plants in the front. So, um, but I recommend if you just go and Google James Findley, there are probably, you know tens or hundreds, or maybe not hundreds, barely 10 or 20 videos. He actually show step by step how he do the aquascaping, and why he choose certain plants for certain areas. So he give all this reasoning, and you get a feel, how when you plan to do an aquarium, uh, you try to imitate his ways of thinking, because it takes a lot of planning before you actually do it. So uh, even though I tried to imitate the same aquarium, it took me probably 1 year for planning and getting all the resources, as some of them are expensive, and I didn't want to spend too much on one go. So I bought them in over a period of year, and then I custom made the tank with the. So it took around me 1.5 years and another 1 year to get this aquarium at this stage. So it's you can say it's a 2 year effort to get that picture. Um, so the structure of my talk is going to be three main areas. One is about the system. The second one is going to talk about the procedure, how you do the aquascaping, and third one is the management, how you keep it beautiful. So Pradesh, can you remind me when it is 30 minutes?
Sure.
So basics. So you should know what's the basics. If you want to grow a real plant, same as terrestrial plants, it need all these basic things. You need a nutrient-rich substrate. You need light. You need oxygen. You need water, and you need carbon dioxide for the photosynthesis. And plants do the photosynthesis when they have light. And what is critical, or the key thing here is you need this carbon dioxide. And for planted aquariums, and for doing a heavily planted aquarium, you have to supply this carbon dioxide from an external source, because the carbon dioxide inside the water is not enough to keep up with the growth of that many plants. And as you know, when there is no light in the night, they do respiration. They consume oxygen, release carbon dioxide. In the daylight, they consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So if it's a healthy growing planted aquarium, you should be expecting high release of oxygen, and again in the night time, high release of carbon dioxide, which gives you the idea. If you are going to supply carbon dioxide externally, you don't need it during the night time, because plants are going to release carbon dioxide, and they are not consuming, so you don't have to provide carbon dioxide. But in the daytime, during the photosynthesis period, uh, you had to supply the externally carbon dioxide. And so that's the key point here. It's the basics, but when you practice, is something different from the normal aquarium practices. As for any aquarium, this is again basics. When you do an aquarium, the most important part, live organism in your aquarium is not the fish, it's not the plants, it's the bacteria. So I always tell this in my when I do a talk about aquarium, the bacteria is the god. Because bacteria is what sustain the aquarium, process all the waste from the fish. So I guess this is basics and everyone know it. Fish will produce poo which has ammonia, and you need nitrosomas to convert ammonia to nitrite, and again nitrospira or something, nitrobacter. There's some other bacteria to convert it to nitrates, and that's a process. The ammonia and nitrite is the toxic gases, which is essentially, it's toxic to fish, not toxic to plants. For plants, all these stages are actually a fertilizer, but for fish, you need this bacteria to convert them to nitrates, which is still toxic, but is comparatively very, very less toxic to fish. Uh, so over the period, you also have to change water to reduce the accumulation of the nitrates. So you don't want them shooting up too much. So these are basics of if you are from my fisheries background, I don't have to explain this to you, but this is a slide which I cannot skip because it's so important. Even people who have good understanding of this may not think it that bacteria is the important living organism. So the point I was trying to say is any management you do with the aquarium, like even changing water, when the chemistry changes, you have to think how stressful it is going to be for the bacteria, because normally people think how is stressful for the fish. But the point is, if you kill all your bacteria, your fish cannot survive by itself. There'll be no bacteria to convert all this process, all this waste. So, uh, and it's also good in the perspective that you try to keep your bacteria alive, then naturally your fish and plants will be surviving with no problem. So you just have to think in a micro level. So if you are able to keep the bacteria alive, then there's no worry about your fish or plants. Uh, when you come across the planted aquarium, there are many advancements in this area. There are big brands bringing new products. So one of the product is the fish tank itself. So what is different here? All fish tanks is same. It's not the tank design actually. It's the glass. So there is a recommendation of using low iron glass. So, and you can see I have shown this example. So high, then when you have this iron content more, you can see a bluish tinge on the edge of the glass. And low iron glass means it's very clear. The glass is clear. There's no basically what people recommend this is when you are trying to keep a beautiful aquarium or nature aquarium, you want to see it in its original color. So the the glass, if it has a slight tinge on it, it will change the colors. But people see you won't see the real color of the plants and the whole background. So uh, low iron glass give you the highest clarity, and this is important when you are doing a really beautiful, and if you're doing aquariums for entering into a competition or something. But normally otherwise you don't have to worry about it. But I'm just giving this, what are the subjects people talking in when you come to planet aquarium. So this is one thing. Low end glass, and is uh, they come as a different product, and again, as anything is expensive as well. The other one is acrylic, which kind of same gives the same look as the low iron glass, but again, over a period of time, you can get scratches on it, so and it won't be looking nice. So the second important thing is the substrate. So normally people use gravel, as a substrate, but the idea is when you use this gravel in a normal aquarium, it's a place for the bacteria to grow, and also just giving you a landscape to it. But when you come to plant aquariums, you need nutrient rich soil, because the plants need nutrients, and part of its part of its nutrient intake is from the soil, and part of it is from the water itself. So um, but there are aquariums which actually, people manage growing good planted aquarium with by only utilizing the water resource. I mean, uh, introducing fertilizers in the water, and totally inert substrate. So that's possible, but it may not be possible to grow all varieties of plant species. So if you're looking to do your trials, your experiments, or if you're looking to grow a wide range of plant species, you would highly likely need a nutrient rich substrate. And there are again a lot of products, they are expensive, um, but you can go the cheapest way, which is the organic soil from your garden, and you can fill that as the bottom layer, and on the top you can just uh, cap with the sand. So that's the fifth option I've given you. This is the cheapest way of doing it. Um, but there are its own disadvantages when you do that. The products here, Amazonia is highly regarded one and probably most chased after substrate. Um, the good thing is here is you can at some stage, if you think you want to change the plant species, you can pull it out and plant another one. Is perfectly all right with that one. But if you do the cheapest way of doing natural soil from your garden, it going to, if you pull out a plant, it's going to your water will be murky, and it takes a really long time to settle down all this mud and everything. So that's the difference when you deal with the cheapest old traditional way of doing things and using highly expensive products. Um, and there are also differences in the water chemistry and how soon your aquarium will establish. All these things will be different depending on your substrate and how much nutrient it will release from the substrate in the initial first 3 weeks. We'll talk more about it in the later slides. The other important one is having a filtration system. So most plant aquariums, they use a canister filter. So this will be an external unit, and there will be layers of different material in the media inside. And so basically, it does the mechanical, chemical, and the biological filtration. So what is the other new addition is the UV filter. So basically, some canisters come with a UV light inside. This will be highly beneficial in a planted aquarium because you have a nutrient-rich soil. That means all that nutrients is going to leach to the water column, and when you have so much nutrients in the water, there's a high chance of getting the green algae or brown algae. So having a UV filter can kill the spores of the green algae. So if your aquarium in some stage is start getting the algae, uh, and if that water is going through a UV filter, and if there are spores, it can kill all the spores. So it can uh, reduce the progress of spreading out the green algae. Uh, it's only the green algae. It can't help with the brown algae or something like diatoms or anything. But you can kill bacteria, you know, and the green algae. So it's still good. Some people use this as a different unit. So UV filter by itself as a different unit and attach that to a filtration unit. Light is another important one because you need light for photosynthesis. So your tank should be highly illuminated. In olden days, they were using T5 tubes, and this is just a picture showing how they were doing. There'll be like 5 or 6 T5 tubes in a row, and then came the metal halides like a floodlight thing. And then nowadays it's LED. So the good thing is the power consumption is low, but again LED lights are more expensive than the T5 or metal halide. Uh, a general guidance is how much light is you need. That's a question people ask. So normally the easiest guidance is, this is the guidance I follow. And it all depends on how many plants you grow. If it's if you're doing easy plants means they're not very much demanding on light, then you should be looking for 10 to 20 lumens per liter of water. So your aquarium light will be telling how many lumens it will be producing from the light, and then you know how much water your aquarium can hold, and then you can calculate the lumens per liter of the water. Like for highly heavy planted tanks, you will need more than 40 lumens per liter of water. But this is not the standard way of looking at. Um, the most reliable way of doing looking at is measuring the PAR parameters, PAR. I can't remember the full form, but you need an expensive equipment. You have to purchase it, and you have to use that in your aquarium and measure how many pars the light, your lights are giving. Um, if you're going to advance, you can do that, but otherwise the easiest way is just doing this lumens per water. And you can see the small graph here showing the differences with different lights, T5, T8, LED, fluorescent lamps. So yeah, small statistics if it helps you. You definitely have to do your research before you purchase. The other important thing is the color temperature. So some of you may know light come in different uh, temperature. There's warm white, soft warm light, daylight, and cool light. So the daylight is 65,000 K, and that's the normal light the plants would expect in nature. Is the daylight. But if you want to give a little bit boost, it's better to go a little bit higher. So you can go to 8,000 K, which gives a slight reddish tinge to your light. So basically, your plants look green because the plants emit green light, but then they absorb red light. So it's good to have some more red wavelengths in the light, because the plants absorb it. And that is another basics you have learned in your somewhere probably. So any color you see is because that object reflect that wavelength of light. So plants reflect green and they absorb red wavelengths. uh, Another key parameter, again, I discussed this already, you have to provide carbon dioxide from an external source. So usually people have cylinders, carbon dioxide cylinders, and these are different components you need to in your setup. So that's a cylinder. You need a regulator to control how much oxygen you want to pass it to the aquarium. And there is a bubble counter here. So basically you can, when you release carbon dioxide, you can see them coming as a bubble. Uh, Within this container, is usually people use water or oil, and you can count the bubbles. So usually 3 bubbles in a second is standard. If you go through the internet, people follow 3 bubbles uh, in a second. Um, and then you have this component here, same as this one. It's called solenoid. So the purpose of solenoid is to turn the regulator on and off if you are connecting it to a timer. So you most likely will be connecting this to a timer because you don't want carbon dioxide injection during the night time, because the plants are not using it, and that can save you some money as well. So with timer, so basically if you connect this to the timer, the solenoid is an interface between the regulator and the timer, telling when to open the valve and close the valve for the carbon dioxide. um, this is another this is check valve. So you usually connect this in the airline to stop the water from the tank going into the cylinder. So basically this is a one-way channel. So the carbon dioxide can go one way, but the water cannot go the other way back. So that's a check valve. And then you would need uh, a diffuser. So basically, the airline in the tank with the carbon dioxide pass through a diffuser, breaking it to very fine bubbles. So you need this very fine bubbles, because that will increase the surface area, and that means more chances of exchanging the carbon dioxide with the water inside the tank. So the more fine bubbles, it's better. So you need a diffuser that will actually break that carbon dioxide into very, very fine bubbles. So these are the components, and another thing you need in your aquarium is the drop chucker. So that looks like that. So it's a air inside, and then there's a liquid, like a pH indicator solution inside. So depending on the concentration of carbon dioxide in the water, the color of the pH indicator will change. So normally it's the 4 degrees bromothymol blue is used as a pH indicator. So the colors are these. If there are enough, if the carbon dioxide is not enough in the water, it will be blue in color. If it's optimal range, it will turn green, and if it is not enough, it will be yellow in color. And that's a color chart showing a relationship of the between pH and the degrees of the DKH. So basically, I think that's the measure of the alkalinity in your water. If so, again, that's it's the basics, but probably some of you know the most important parameter we are after here is the alkalinity. Again, alkalinity is not same as alkaline. pH. A low pH is acidic, high pH is alkaline. But alkalinity is different from alkaline. Alkalinity uh, is the carbonate hardness in your water. So it's the measure of carbonates and bicarbonates in your water. And there's always a balance between the carbonate and bicarbonate, but and that will help buffering up the system. So basically, how it helps here, the context here is if you have enough carbonate bicarbonate concentration or the alkalinity, it can stop the pH fluctuations. It can keep the pH more stable than keeping it changing all the time. So normally we are looking for 4 degrees of alkalinity, which is around here, uh, and you can see the optimal carbon dioxide can be achieved at a pH range of 6.6 to 6.9. So if your alkalinity is too much, like 10, then the carbon dioxide is optimal only from 7, pH 7 to 7.5. So as your alkalinity increases, you have to keep your aquarium at higher pH levels. So again, if it's a very soft water, which means there's no carbonates or bicarbonates, then it will be like close to 0 or 1. Then you should keep a pH between 6 and 6.4. That may not be ideal if you're keeping fish in the aquarium. So normally 4 degrees of alkalinity, and that gives you the pH between 6.6 to 6.9 with enough carbon dioxide for the plants to grow. And for plants, the ideal pH will be 6.5, because at 6.5 is the best pH at which it can absorb all the nutrients from the water, and that is perfectly all right with the fish as well. And as you know, if the photosynthesis is happening, that means the plants are growing, they are healthy, and that means they'll be releasing oxygen. And this is visually, you can see them releasing oxygen. So you will see bubbles forming at the tips of the plants. And in the world of planted aquarium, this is called pearling. So I have a small video here showing the pearling of my aquarium. Let me try to show this to you. So you can see the bubbles coming up, not as good as this in the picture, but you can see the bubbles releasing from the tips of the plant. You can see 2 bubbles here on the tip of the plants. So these are oxygen released as a result of the photosynthesis. Part 2, what are the steps when you create a planted aquarium? So this is an example of the nature aquarium. So a good enthusiast will go to a jungle or somewhere of a good nature feeling, good place where there's a and capture a small they keep taking pictures, and some of the objects will be of good interest. So this example, this is a natural picture, and he tried to recreate that in his aquarium. So the main thing here is you need these stones. You have to find some stones to match the background, and also the wood, giving the same style like this. So you have to collect them from the wild, and that's the result of the end product after doing the plant aquarium. So you can see the transformation and how we try to imitate the nature. So the aquascaping itself is a different subject, and maybe that I haven't done too many aquariums to give a lecture on that, but there's a lot of experience you can gain from doing it, because it need careful attention, and you have to spend a lot of time with your tank. But these are some basic tools you need when if you do your aquascaping. So that's called a sand flattener. So it's basically to flatten the surface of the substrate. Then you need some tweezers, ideally with a little curve, which will help you to pick anything from the substrate. Uh, then what you need is obviously a small fish net, a brush to clean the tanks, the glasses. This is the equipment you see. So yeah, that one is to inject the fertilizer tabs in the substrate. These are scissors with the curve at the end. Again, this is used for trimming the plants. So when the plants grow over time, occasionally you have to trim them to keep it healthy, and also to keep the look of the aquarium. So you don't want them to overgrow, and that will actually mask some other plants, and probably it will demand more nutrients or carbon dioxide. So you need a trimming is a standard practice in planted aquarium. So these two scissors are used for trimming. The curved ones, this one is usually used for the low lying plants in the front, like the carpeting plants. You need these curved scissors. Um, so this is the basic setup, how you set up. So in this example, there's a tank, and the, the guy put thermoform or styrofoam in the bottom. The reason he's going to put these big stones, and it's going to be heavy, so it's probably to support that. And he's going to separate this here, different types of substrates here. So you can see there's some big rock stones. Probably they are coming with bacteria already in it, like the powders and fertilizers. So it's a different media, but then you want to protect that in a certain area. So he's using mesh nets, and then surrounding it is there's a different substrate. So this is going to probably a less nutrient rich or probably inert. That so you had to visualize this in the future. So basically, the more nutrient rich substrate will be having higher plant growth, and the inert areas will probably have no plants or less plant growth. And again, the stones, you probably have to sometimes glue them to keep them in position. You also need insert something in between to keep because over time, if you have no support inside the substrate, the sand and substrate can flow down to the floor like that, so that it won't maintain it as like a hilly nature. It can just roll down over a period of time. So you need to give support inside the substrate. And you can see that's the end product of this aquarium. It takes a lot of time to reach at this stage. Probably, yeah, step 1 to 2, 3, 4, yeah, 1 to 5 is like in 2, 3 days, and probably the last picture is probably after 1 year or 2 years. Uh, yeah, the other important thing is because you're spending so much hours for aquascaping, then you have to uh, take all the measures to not destroy it. So most people do spend all this lot of time on aquascaping and then ruin it by filling water. So when you fill water, you have to keep a stone or something where you don't want to get your water murky because your water is falling into the substrate. So you, in this case here, put a small cup, and probably the water flow is very, very low. Try not to make your water murky and destroy your aquascaping. There are different types of aquascaping. Some people use the golden ratio, which is like at the center focus is somewhere, just shows the main feature of the aquarium. So in this case, the small waterfall or creek like nature comes in the middle. Some people use a convex shape thing, so basically like a island like structure. So there's a big structure in the middle, and over the sides it will be lying low. Some people like the concave or the valley like structure. So basically you have big plants and or big stones in both sides, and then in the center it will be like a valley coming. And some people like focus just on the one side, a hilly nature in the one side, and slowly slopes down on towards the other side. And in this picture, you can see the outer areas have inert sand. There's no plant growth there because there's no nutrient-rich water there. Nutrient-rich substrate. But in the center, there will be nutrient-rich substrate. So there are two different substrates here, probably more than that. But from the visual, I can tell you a minimum of two types of substrate. One is inert and one is nutrient-rich. Different types of plants. So this is the carpet plants, which in other few aquariums you have seen in the forefront. They don't grow too tall, but they spread in the substrate and form like a lawn in your garden. You still need to trim them because otherwise it will create these anoxic areas under in the root system, and can kill the plant. So you have to keep trimming it to keep it healthy. These are different types of plants. uh, um, uh, just try. Oh, yeah. So this is HC cuba. This is a species name and market name as well. This is the smallest carpeting plant in the market, and you need a lot of attention to make it grow, and not too much. Ideally 26 degrees. If it's hot, it's not going to grow very well. So I tried this and failed because it's too hot in here. And then I switched to Monte Carlo, which looks kind of same. Uh, the only difference is it has a longer root system, so it can sit inside a substrate. The HC Cuba, if there is a high flow from your filtration system, it can just it will float in your water. It won't stay fixed in the substrate. Normally, then this is dwarf hairgrass. They will send creepers to the substrate, and so you can see the creepers here for a glossostigma. These I have tried all of them. Or yeah, all of these plants I have tried. Um, the propagation, if you want to use the same plant for another aquarium, the technique is to just pull apart. Never use a scissors and cut them, because it will kill the root system, and it will be more hard to establish. So just in market when you buy them, you get like this, and then you have to just pull apart and carefully plant them in the substrate. Make sure there's no strong flows, because otherwise it will be floating in the water. You have to give them at least a week or 2 weeks to help the roots attach to the substrate. And again, to plant them, you probably need tweezers. So you can see an example here. You have to use like a forceps or tweezers to push that into the substrate. And normally people do this before filling the water, because it's just easier to plant them, and also they keep them moist to let them grow and help the root establish, and then fill the water. But in my case, I filled the water and did it. So it works for some plants. For some other plants, it's probably best to plant them when they are dry, and flood it with water when they are established in the substrate. Then another type of plants is the stem plants. So stem plants are like, have a root and there is a stem, and there'll be small roots coming from the plant. So the propagation is very easy. So you just cut the plant and put it in the ground. That will form a different plant. This so the earlier one was a carpeting plant, so it has a different propagation technique. All stem plants you can do this way. So that's Amania bonsai plant. This is the red. This is very famous again because of the red color, Alternanthera reiniki. This is like a creeper. It's called hydrocotyle tripartita. So these are very famous. These I have tried growing all of these. Yeah, all of this. I have put the plants which I have tried. Wisteria is very low nutrient demanding and very easy to grow, and the green color is very nice, like very light green. You don't need much nutrients for growing this, but Alternanthera reiniki need good nutrients. Ludwigia super red again need, and when for red plants you also need some more iron content in the water, so you probably have to dose it externally, like once in a week. Add a little bit iron liquid. You get these products in the market. The other type of plants is the rosette plants. So rosette plants will have, again a creeper, but then they have these nodes in it. So you can see a bunch of plant here, then a small creeper, another bunch. So the trick here is actually to cut in the creeper here, and that will make you two different plants. So that's the another propagation technique. It's depending on the plant type. So in this case, if you cut the leaves or the upper area, it won't form a different plant. You basically need a root. Wherever you cut, you need a root for them to establish. Not necessarily with the stem plants. It's better if you have a root in the portion you cut, but if not, it may still establish. This is another beautiful plant, Blixa japonica. Vallisneria, everyone knows this one. Blixa is just a shorter version and just more bushy type looking plant. These are easy. Again, they are low nutrient demanding. Amazon swords, cryptocoryne. Many people grow this. These are easy growing, these ones, and they are hardy as well. Blixa is not hardy. It's bit sensitive with the nutrients in the water. While Isneria is okay to grow, no problem. Other type of plants is the ferns, ferns and moss. So these are ferns, and the lower row these are moss. Ferns will have a rhizome. So the trick here is you never bury this into the substrate, because the rhizome should be always exposed to the water or air. If you bury it, you're going to kill the plant. So and that's a propagation technique. You can cut the rhizome and then you actually tie it to a stone or a wooden piece, and it absorbs the water nutrients from the water. So they don't really take nutrients from the soil. So there's no point in burying them. So always tie them to a stone or a wooden piece. That's how you grow the ferns and the moss as well. So for moss, because they are too tiny, initially in the market you get them in a small mesh. The moss would be attached to the mesh, and you can just tie this mesh to a wooden piece or stone, and then it will establish on that substrate. So people are this is just a smart version. People are just attach moss to a wooden piece and make it look like a tree. So this is not a plant. So this is basically a moss attached to a wooden piece, and it just gives the impression of a tree. There are different types of mosses. There can be to my knowledge, maybe 10 or 15 types in the market. These are just examples, but they are different looking. There are different versions, and you can do completely different type of planet aquarium just by using only the moss. Just moss and ferns, there will be a completely different look. Other type of plants are the floating plants. So basically, they float in the water. They don't attach to anything. Some of them you know already. Azolla, very popular. Salvinia. Salvinia is seen as a pest. People don't grow them, but some enthusiasts grow them in the aquarium. Most yeah, for in ponds and everything, people use water lettuce, but it's also look nice in your aquarium. The main thing is don't let them overgrow. That means it will cover the surface and stop the light going into your aquarium. That means you have plants in the bottom in your substrate, and they won't get enough light if there are floating plants on the top. So always keep them minimal. Unless that is your focus, that's what you want to grow. This is very popular. Amazon frog bait is easy to maintain. um, the most dangerous one is the duckweed, and all of you know that one, because once they are in your system, it's very difficult to get them out. They just propagate by itself. It can cover your entire aquarium surface and probably destroy everything, because it's so fast uh, propagating. uh, Try to avoid duckweed. It's not good for aquarium. I mean, it looks nice, but then you won't be able to maintain it. It's ruin everything. Rexia is a very beautiful floating plant. Some people it's a floating plant, but most people tie them to stones. It gives a different look in your aquarium.
Deepak, sorry to interrupt. It's getting time, closer to the time limit.
Okay, so not 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The part 3 is aquarium management. So as this is a traditional thing, and basics, as for any aquarium, you need to cycle your aquarium. So if this term is not familiar, cycling means you need to establish the bacteria before doing anything else. So basically, you need all those bacteria processing the ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. So people start by putting a dead fish in the aquarium, or introducing some chemicals that have ammonia like urea, and then keep it running with a filter, and the bacteria slowly start establishing by itself. You could put the plants in it from the first day, because these are fertilizers for ammonia. But when you introduce the fish, you have to make sure you have all the bacteria required to process the waste of the fish, like ammonia and nitrate. So basically, you should be having 0 ppm of ammonia and nitrite, and the nitrate should be the only one in this group when you introduce your fish. Or you can start with a very low stocking density and then slowly increase them as your bacteria establish. So basically, you'll be testing for all of these. You do a water test. The first few weeks are very important, because of using a highly nutrient rich substrate. There'll be a lot of nutrients leaching into the water, and you probably will be looking to do like a 70 to 80% water exchange in your first week, first 3 weeks probably, and then start slowly reducing it. So 80% or probably 90% water exchange is bit too high compared to the traditional system. But then there's no fish at this stage. And the reason is also there's a high nutrient load in the water. So if you don't do that, you will start getting the algae outbreak, and then you have to start from fresh again. So it is to stop the algae outbreak. So you will need testing and also water exchange to stop reduce these levels of ammonia and nitrite. Your plants will be fine. They won't need too much of these fertilizers. These are the algae outbreaks, and this will not look nice in a planted aquarium. So there are different algae outbreaks. Brown algae usually is the diatoms, and main reason is having a lot of phosphate or nitrites. Green spot algae, they just showing pictures because then you know how they look like. Green dust algae. The most difficult one to deal is the blackbird algae. Um, there are so many theories why they grow. Generally, what I see is the fluctuation in carbon dioxide. If your cylinder is very small, you'll be changing cylinders too frequent, and the carbon dioxide levels will not be very stable. Again, some people say the water flow is if the water flow is not enough, that will also grow the blackbird algae. So once these are established, you see, there are a few tricks to get them away, but it's not easy. Other algae won't come up unless you have a serious mistake with your water keeping your water quality at the top. So basically, you need to do water exchange and monitor the nutrient levels. If you're doing that, most of these algae you can handle them, but blackbird algae will still come up. And the trick is there's one fish called Siamese algae eater, which the only fish eats blackbird algae. And there's a chemical also which you have to spot treat them. So that's a glutaraldehyde. Um, like in I will show you there are some chemicals in the market, but it's not straightforward. People don't know. These are other symptoms you will see in a planted aquarium. We could get a cloudy water. We could be a bacteria load. There can be cyanobacteria. Again, blue-green algae is the name, but it's cyanobacteria. Surface, you can see this come in the surface. Again, bacteria load. If you're putting wood in the first few initial stages, you'll see this white fungus, but that will go away over a period of time. So nothing to worry about it. If you're putting wood, you will see the color change in the water because of the tannins released from the wood. Some people like the tannin color, but some others don't like it. It depends upon what you need. Fish, you can't put all different types of fish in a plant aquarium because the fish that will pull out the plants. So you focus so much on your plants and you don't want a fish that will destroy it. So you should be very careful when you select what fish you want to keep in. So most people use this tetra. They are small, they don't damage the plants. Angels are also good. Small gouramis, discus fish, guppies. The rainbow fishes are endemic to Australia. There are different varieties and they are harmless for the plants. Algae management, again, there's a high chance of algae outbreak in a planted aquarium because of the nutrient load. So a few techniques is, algae is also basically a plant, so it'll need light to grow. So some people switch off the light to stop the algae spread. Another is monitoring your nutrients. So you have to you don't want any of the nutrients in excess. So that is the reason why the algae growth, because your plants use the nutrients in a certain ratio. If one of them is too much, there'll be excess of it in the water, and that will feed the algae. So keep monitoring your algae, the nutrients in your water. And so these are the different ways of controlling your algae outbreak. Those nutrients, but only what is needed. And if you ensure you have the carbon dioxide, that will help because that will encourage the plant growth. But not the that means their plants can absorb more nutrients. If carbon dioxide can be a limiting nutrient for the plant, and by providing them externally, you boost the growth of the plants. That means it will absorb more nutrients, so that your water, the nutrient load in the water will be much less than what you expect. Uh, when it comes to nutrient dosing, there are different formulations. Very, very famous one is the estimative index fertilization method. I'm not going to explain this, but you can Google it. Another one is the perpetual preservation system. That depends on. So these are like weekly doses, and there are different ways of calculating it depending on the requirement. But when you do this fertilizer dosing, you would need a water change, every week. So it's saying 50% water change, because there will be excess of nutrients. If you don't do the water change, you will have the algae outbreak. But then if you do it properly, it will keep your planted aquarium very, very beautiful. Your plants will be so healthy, and with higher growth rate. uh, you will get this color chart. The you how you find the deficiency of a nutrient is by looking at the leaf of the plants. So you can see that's the deficiency of iron, nitrogen, this is phosphorus. So you will get a lot of guidance from the internet if you look like it. So if you see any yellowish color in the leaves, not necessarily it is because of the too much light, or people straight away think it's too much light. It could be the deficiency of one of these minor small nutrients. And you have trace metals mix in the market, which you can dose to provide all these small nutrients. The most two famous books, Sunken Gardens is a pretty old book, was very famous, and this is a new book, Crystal Castleman, about aquarium plants. Uh, I would say this is the best book available when it comes to aquarium plants. The author have traveled all around the world and also have pictures. So I have got a chance to look at this book, and I could see places in India, including local places in Kerala, uh, and she have described all possible aquatic plants and how to grow them. It's a really good book. If anyone is like to chase that one. This is a video, but I don't have the time to show it. I just put it in case if I get some time. Just the same thing what we explained before, how to fill the aquarium, when you do a planted, how to plant, how to put the plants in the substrate, how to arrange the aquascaping, and all that process. But there are many in the YouTube, so feel free to research by yourself. So that's the end of my slide, and that's my aquarium. I did only one aquarium, and all this knowledge has been generated from doing as one aquarium. So that's the first day of my aquarium. But again, as mentioned before, it took me 1 year to establish, get all the resources I need to put together on my first day. So probably my planning started in 2016 October, and that is after almost an year how it looked like. So it took a lot of time to reach, to bring at this beautiful looking aquarium. So if you have any questions, yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, Deepak. That was an excellent presentation. I have learned a lot of lesson, even though like you said before, I feel like, oh, I'm an official graduate, so I know better way to do it. I even ask your seek some of the advices for the plant. So this presentation gives a whole lot of knowledge to most of the audience. Uh, Thank you for that. Before going to the discussion and leave the party, please provide your feedback about our today's talk, and the link for the talk will be posted in the chat soon. Meanwhile, I'm talking, I'm doing it. So
if you go to our website, it's there.
yeah. It's also available in our website, like Deepak said. If you would like to volunteer with us for AFS Talk, again, like I said in the beginning, please let us know. We would like to know what kind of help that you guys can willing to do, contribute at developing AFS Talks. We also want to know any of the speakers who are interested to give a talk in our series as well. Now we can move into the discussion part. Feel free to. So there, I see some of the questions in the chat. So feel free to unmute yourself and then ask the question to the speaker. And if possible, if you can type in the questions in the chat box, it'll be easier for the speaker and also the audience, because some of you might having a internet issue, so your talk won't be audible. So it's better to type it there, and then you will get a chance to unmute yourself and then ask questions. So with that, I will try to go with the questions listed in the chat first. So there are a lot of students, a lot of people have identified themselves. Thank you for that. So the first question is from Suresh Mujadar. Suresh, if you can unmute yourself and then ask the question to Deepak, that would be great.
Hello, Suresh. Yeah, mute. Oh, sorry, I have to change. Yeah, you can unmute now. Yeah, you can unmute now.
Yeah, sir, it was really wonderful to see the presentation. We were so much excited to see, but most of the focus given on freshwater. I could find that, but even same marine species and marine aquarium has great potential. You might be aware of that. But whether we can get some insights on marine plant species and marine aquarium and its plantation, all these things, sir.
Yeah, it's not a. I don't think there's a lot of research in that area, but I have thought about it. But then there is already a challenge of maintaining a marine aquarium. You need the salt water, you need more equipments. It's going to be more expensive, and then also you need a supplier, or you probably have to find by yourself some saltwater plants. Like seagrass or something, and you don't see it everywhere in the ocean. You need a area which have a natural habitat of that. So yeah, I think it's not something in a commercial scale, people, and there's a lot of obstacles in getting things right. So, and that is why you don't see many hobbyists, even though they wish to do it. It's not a very easy to do thing. So if I plan to do it, my main challenge is probably I can set up a marine aquarium, I can get all the equipments, but then I don't know anyone who will supply me with marine species. But definitely there's a potential for it. Someone who's really interested in it, and it's definitely possible. I think it's possible, but I haven't seen much articles or any research on it.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, for that. Santana Gowda has said, very good informative presentation. Thank you. Again, Suresh, and some more persons identify themselves. Okay, Sagar Shinde.
I can see a hand raise, Meka. Is hand raise by Meka?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Sir, can I speak Hindi?
You can try. You can try. Oh, Pradesh will translate for me.
So my question is कि जब अपन CO2 गैस जो आपने यूज करना बताई थी, so अगर CO2 सिलेंडर अपन यूज ना करें जब पूरा सेटअप हो जाए, means when it gets set up, when it got set up by Aquascape got set up, so अपन जब CO2 यूज कर सकते हैं तो अपन उसको बाद में बंद कर सकते हैं क्या?
बाद में means when? In the night time or?
Sir, during both the durations, means when plants are also respiring, so after some time those whole water CO2 only, then next day they will consume it.
That's why you use a timer. So you get timers that can go into a plug, and you can set the timer for, say, I want the cylinder. I want the cylinder on between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the evening. 6 a.m. in the morning to 12 hour or 10 hour. So most people use 8 hour duration. So it goes on a cycle. So once you set it up, it will turn on every day morning and then turn off every day evening. So you don't have to do it manually every day. Just set the timer.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So Sagar has asked a question about the brief information on biological value of aquarium plants. Sagar, if you can unmute yourself and then ask question, that would be great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, in my state or most of the part, when this aquarium keeper will collect from wild, no. So I would like to know that there are some biological value of that plant in nature. So by harvesting that in nature, are we disturbing nature, or up to some limit we are okay with that biological limit? Sir, did you get my question?
Yeah, I got it. It depends.
Yes, sir.
Depends on.
Yes, sir.
If you are using for your own aquarium, that should be fine because you won't be harvesting too many. You need only a few few stems, and it will grow in your aquarium. So you don't need the everything what is needed for your aquarium. You could also start growing them at least 3 or 4 months before in a small tub. So when you sort out all the equipments you need for the aquarium, you can they will grow. You can grow them in a small tub, like a small container or anything. And when your setup is ready, you can just transfer the plants from your tub. But your question is valid in a situation where there's a lot of commercial scope for it, and a lot of people are chasing for it to sell it or export it to some other place. Then it's a threat to the environment, and you need management in place to stop to affect if it affects the resource, the availability, for conservation perspective.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And it was a very beautiful and amazing presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Next, there's a question from Ipsida. I'm not sure if I'm butchering your name or not. Ipsida, if you can come up and ask the question directly to Deepak, that would be great.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Am I audible now?
Yes. I hope I didn't butcher your name.
No, it's fine, sir. It's perfectly fine. Actually, sir, I wanted to ask because even I'm inquisitive about aquascaping, and I've started it around like 3 to 4 months back. And basically, I use this Amazon swords as the plant, and like how you have explained, sir, like you have kept it in a very big like aquarium. I think your size of your aquarium is quite big, but I've kept it in a small so that I thought that I could manage it properly, but it was not so. And within 1 or 2 months, I added one plant nutrient which I got from the market. And after adding it, I found that after 1 or 2 months, the leaves started browning. I don't know what's the reason behind that. So can you please explain, sir?
When you come to planted tanks, there are 2 categories. One is called the high-tech high-tech tanks and low-tech tanks. Generally, what it means is, keeping high demanding plants, and then you need everything of a high capacity. You need carbon dioxide. You need that very good illumination, good lights, good filtration. Then low-tech tanks, you don't need that many equipments or things, because it's a low nutrient demanding tank. So in those tanks, we use some species which don't use that much nutrients. So Amazon source is something like that. They don't need they don't need much. They don't have much demand for or requirements with light and nutrients. So they are actually pretty easy growing. But then if probably you have paid too much attention, and you probably have given everything too much. That's what I think. And
Maybe
that can burn the plant. If you too much nutrient for a low demanding plant, it can kill the plant. So that's what I guess from what you said.
answer like whether we can change it, like we can revert it and make it possible, like we can regenerate it, or and just need to throw out the plant because the plant is alive but the leaves has turned brown.
Is all the leaves brown?
The leaves of this Amazon sword, sir, that has turned brown in color. It's light brown, it's not fully brown, it's light brown.
Is
And
all the leaves are brown?
no sir, it's partially brown.
Okay, I think you can do is probably I don't know about the water chemistry, that's also important, but you could try doing a 50% water exchange, and also pull out the plant, and you can chop off the brown leaves and only keep the healthy leaves and put it back in the soil, and fingers crossed. I think that's the best advice I can give.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ipsita. Shreya Jeet Shruti has asked a question about plants in hard water. Shreya, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, definitely. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I have two questions. First is this one, that which plants are suitable for hard water? And one thing I observed people, getting worried about is that sometimes the water is so hard that the leaves, they develop something whitish on the surface that can be maybe the compounds in the hard water. So how can we deal with that?
Yeah, good question. I just skipped a few slides regarding your water chemistry because it's some, you could get this advice on a normal aquarium thing. But again, when it comes to plants, I don't know, probably there are not many plants which can survive in a really hard water, because where do you find hard water? In borewell water or something like that? No plants grow there, so it's probably no options there. So when people get hard water, what we can do is use a reverse osmosis RO meter, and filter that water. So all the calcium and magnesium are separated, and then you get this soft water from the RO. And then you use that soft water, but again, it is too soft. You still have to add a little bit calcium and magnesium to bring it to the 4-degree alkalinity. You need that 4 to 5 degrees of alkalinity for all most of the plants. They need a little bit hardness, but definitely not too much, and definitely not too soft. So if the water is too hard, like very hard water, use a RO system, and then you get the soft water. If you don't have a RO system, you can buy demineralized water from these water are sold for the filling the car batteries. They are demineralized water, and that would be soft water, and you can buy them, and then you can add the chemicals for increasing the alkalinity. So that is the solution.
Okay, thank you, sir. Second question is, can we revive the dying anubias? There are no leaves in it, just the roots are left.
Anubias, Amazon, so they are slow growing plants. So you you could change the water and do, we don't know it, because it takes too much time to get new leaves. I think you can keep it as a backup, but you cannot rely on it, thinking that it will come back. It may Anubias is not that easy. Also, it definitely a little bit hardy, but it's not. It's not something very easy. I think probably the main challenge is because it's slow growing, and you won't be able to know immediately whether they are doing okay or not. So yeah, but if you want to bring them back, maybe you can take it out from the aquarium and put it in a container, and the only thing it need is a moisture. So you can close the container, just spray the substrate with water, and don't let them go too dry. So you can actually close the container with its cover and put it on, outside where it gets some little bit sunlight. uh, keep monitoring it. If it's coming back, you can then transfer it back to the aquarium. So it doesn't have to be submerged in the water. Most plants we use in the plant aquarium, they are not naturally submerged, growing submerged. Most of the stem plants, they usually, in nature you will see them, uh, roots in the water, or really moist areas, and the leaves in the dry in air. um, but they can easily adapt to a submerged system. Most of these plants, the leaves will change. The leaves underwater and above water will be different. I know the best way to grow these plants, if you are not keeping it in an aquarium, is actually to keep it in a moist area, in a moist substrate, in a container, closed container. So they don't have to be submerged. It will so you can get away from many problems, because when you grow submerged in the water, you will have the problems of keeping the water quality clean, no bacteria, no fungus. It is a lot of work. But if you keep it out above water, without no without water, but only the moist, then most of these diseases won't be uh, won't be coming out, affecting your plants. So that's commercially how people grow, is just keeping them moist in a undercover area, and they sell it as it is. So it's when the customer get it, they actually submerge it, and there'll be a few days it takes to establish in a submerged environment. um, so any problem with your plants, if you want them to come back, probably take them out, put it in a storage container with a bit substrate, and spray them heavily with water, but don't let them submerge in the water. Keep it outside, a little bit of sunlight, and substrate can be a little bit nutrient rich, not too much. And if it is supposed to come back, it will come back. If it's not, listen. But keeping it in an aquarium and looking forward to come back, it's challenging. There's no guarantee, and it's always very doubtful, because you have to keep them you have to keep them, ensure there's no bacteria, clean water, and everything. And then you have other fish, other plants. So best way, if you want to save a plant, put them separate, just like the fish you put in a quarantine tank, just like that.
Yes.
Just separate it, and give them the best environment, and let them come back. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. And so one tiny question I have. So how can we, what should be the ideal height for any planting tank for the light, the light source? What should be
Sorry,
the ideal height?
height of the light.
Yes, sir.
Well, um, yeah, I mean, yeah. So what I did is, definitely no one knows, because theoretically we need this many lumens per liter of water, but then how do you measure it? So best thing is to trial and error method. So basically, if it's too much light, you probably will end up in an algae outbreak, or sometimes your plants may not be doing very well. Same if the light is not too much. So the system, how I set up my aquarium is the height of the light is adjustable. So basically, I am hanging them with a chain. So, and I can adjust the length of the chain. So if I think it's a light problem, if I need less light in my aquarium, I will raise the light. I will reduce the length of the chain. If need too much more light, I'll bring it down more close to the surface. The other option is you can increase if it's like a tube lights, and if there is more room to keep more, you can increase more, put more, one more tube light if we need more light. So I think unless if you can measure, it's hard to tell. Again, depending on what stage is the plant growth. If you just really started the aquarium, it won't need too much light. But then as they spread and grow, or if when your aquarium is fully covered with plants, then there you will need more light. So I think you have to work with the light when you do it. There is no straight answer for it, but you will know when you have algae outbreak. It is one of the few things you have to adjust. One is the light, one is the nutrient load in the water, and the other one is the carbon dioxide. The first option is to control the light for everyone. They start with the light and then the nutrient load. Carbon dioxide, you always try not to mess up with that because you don't want too much fluctuation.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't see any other questions in the chat box. If anybody have any questions, it's a time that you guys can unmute or raise your hands and then ask question directly to Deepak. Okay. If nobody have a question, I have one question to Deepak. Deepak, I'm having an aquarium with only Amazon Zord, and I'm having the hard water issue, like Shreya was mentioning. I'm using the water the water that is getting after the water softener. I don't have the RO system. I am getting a good result on the plant growth. Probably it's because of the Amazon Zord, because of its hardiness, right? Is it why it is still I'm getting that plant growing in my aquarium? Is it?
Have you checked the hardness of your water after doing the RO?
Yeah, it's pretty much on the. I don't remember, but it's pretty much on the high side.
Yeah, those plants are hardy and they will, if they are growing is fine, but if you're planning to add any other plants, you will need more testing and checking that water may not support all other plants. But with Amazon are doing fine, and if that's the only one you want to keep, then there's no issues.
I want to add more. That's why.
Yeah, then you need to do this proper testing. You have to ensure your alkalinity is between 4 to 5, and you can check the general hardness. There are two different things. General hardness is the calcium and magnesium thing, and the alkalinity is the carbonate and bicarbonate thing.
I'm using the conditioner that reduces the chlorine and other calcium in the water. Is it because that I didn't check the hardness for quite a long time now?
Yeah, the conditioner is most probably only to treat the chlorine, but chlorine, I don't know. Is that your tap water?
Yeah, it's my municipal water, but
Okay,
here
okay,
the water is very
okay.
hardy.
So then the other option is, you can age the water, which help in many other things as well. Just keep it bubbling outside in your backyard, and then use the aged water, and there'll be no chlorine in it. And if there is any other thing that need to be oxidized, if it sit under the sun with an air stone, uh, just in 20 under 24 hours, your water is ready to go in an aquarium. But again, then you have hard water, uh, you could yeah, just yeah, when you do the RO, you probably don't have to do anything else. It's pretty much, you can straight away add that one. Yeah. So if you want, want to add more plants, you have to ensure your alkalinity, for sure, general hardness, both KH and GH.
Okay.
And there are kits available that test both of them. Like there's a API is a brand,
Yeah.
very popular, and they have kit which will let you test both of them at one go. I think that's the most important in your case.
Okay.
With other things, depending on what plant you add, depending on their requirement. Some plants need carbon dioxide for good growth. Some some doesn't need that. So like the small carpeting plants I showed you, they would need carbon dioxide. Most of them. Some are easy growing. So, yeah, depending on the demands of the plant. Then you have to make changes with your water chemistry.
Okay. Okay. So one of the participant has mentioned in the chat, using rainwater is a good option. That was my other question to you. So rainwater is another option, right?
Yeah, it's an option. Yeah, it's an option when you get a lot of rain. Yeah, places when you don't have much rain, then I mean, the RO system is equally applicable everywhere. So that was my just because of that, I don't know from where you come, but if you get rainwater, yes, of course. Just still, you just for safety, you just filter them through a mesh or something. Your rainwater. Yeah.
Okay. One last question before we wind up the session. How often? So you said that exchanging the water is the key for in eliminating some of the issues in the aquarium. How often do you recommend to replace the water?
Yeah, it's again depending on what's like the stage of the aquarium. So definitely in the first 4 to 5 weeks, you will need more than 50% exchange in a week. Okay. But as your aquarium establish, that means you have more plants. So once your aquarium is full of plants, and the plants are doing a pretty good job. So I was only topping up my aquarium. I was not even changing my water. I'm still only topping up. Just because of the evaporation, I have to top up. Although that is not what I recommend. I recommend doing 20 to 25% in a month. I am just being lazy, and it's working for my aquarium. Until a problem show up, I'll be only topping up. But ideally, 20 to 25% in a month. But initial 5 to 6 weeks, very very important. You with planted aquarium, and if you are using a nutrient-rich substrate, there will be ammonia spikes, and it will cause a algae outbreak. You will need first week definitely 100% water change. Second week onwards, maybe 80%. First month, always above 50%, and then you can gradually reduce it. But again, you have to keep testing your nitrite, ammonia. Your aim should be bringing ammonia and nitrite to 0 ppm. So you have to keep a record, logging all these numbers, and depending on that, you have to adjust. You have to make a decision how much water exchange you need.
Okay. Okay.
So
All right.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
this process will take 2 months at least, and your bacteria to fully populate in your filter, and it will take 5 to 6 months to fully populate the bacteria. There's some misconception. It could, you need only 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's not the case. It will take 5 to 6 months to stabilize. Your bacteria will be growing. You may have enough bacteria by 2, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, as people normally advise, but it's not at the peak or uh, uh, the level where it will stabilize. So it will keep growing. So only after 5 to 6 months you would know the potential of your aquarium and how much you could do with it, or add more plants or add more fish. Everything, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think I saw a hand raised by Shashank Bharadwaj, I guess. Shashank, if you want to unmute yourself and then ask the question, that will be.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I am a student of College of Fisheries Science, Jabalpur.
Yeah.
I have 4 questions.
Yeah.
Sir, first question is how we can keep aquarium good and healthy? First question.
Yeah. What is the second one?
Second one, how should we clean planted aquariums compared to normal aquarium?
Yeah. Third one.
And third one, how we select particular fish belongs to a particular aquarium plant.
Yeah. Fourth one.
Fourth one, please suggest the aquarium book so that I am very fond of aquariums, so I want to learn how to make aquariums, how to grow aquarium plants.
Yeah.
That's
the first question is, just you can get that information anywhere, because that's a general aquarium question. How you keep it clean and neat, it's basically the most important one is the water exchange.
no, sir. Planted aquarium, sir. Planted aquarium.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of same. That question is your third question or second question, I think. But your first question was to how to keep your aquarium neat and clean. So water exchange. Clean the glass. Don't feed too much fish. This is more natural ecosystem, and there will be a few things to eat for the fish already in there. Don't put big fish. Maybe keep small fishes that will not destroy the plants or uproot them. When it comes to plant aquarium, the when you do the water exchange, you should be trimming your plants. So that's the only one different from a normal aquarium. You will be trimming, trimming your plants, and before the water exchange, so you clean up all the trimmed plants, and then do the water exchange. Yeah, aquarium books I showed in my last slide. The video will be in YouTube in 2 weeks, so you can find those books in Amazon or anywhere. So the one book I recommend is with I think it's Kisselman. But yeah, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. The whole presentation will be there in 2 weeks time. So
it is very difficult to maintain aquarium plants, planted aquariums. It is very difficult or not, sir?
Depending on how much you're willing to do. So if you don't have time to spend, so, I mean, it's depending on aquarium. Some aquariums demand 1 hour, a week for maintenance. If you don't have that time, then it's difficult. So the question is very subjective.
cutting is required.
Yeah, so if you are highly passionate about it, you won't feel it as a difficult thing. You will actually do it for your happiness. Then it's not difficult, but it's not giving you any happiness. It will be difficult. So that's the answer.
So I have a shop, my mama shop. So I am very fond of aquariums. So
Yeah. I mean, the thing, that's the thing, if you enjoy doing it, and I don't think it will be a difficult thing, but if it is, it's not very enjoyable, it's difficult.
I have lots of betas, half moon, and many guramis. In one aquarium, I have guramis, lots of carps, milky carps, sharks, and angelfish also. Yes.
It's different from fish maintenance. So the most different thing is trimming the plants, and you should know how to trim them without damaging it, and you should ensure how you can provide the carbon dioxide, and whether that carbon dioxide is enough for the plants. So these are the different things compared to a normal aquarium.
So one last question. So, Danio fish is very it's die. Whenever I keep in aquariums, it's always die, sir. What? Please tell me how to keep healthy. One particular disease, a tail rot. In I have kept in some winter season Danios. So whenever I have kept it's die. What happens?
I don't know about it. To me, Daniel should be pretty okay to keep it. Won't be too difficult. But regarding your question, go to our YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
One of our speakers were talking about the aquatic disease and how to manage it. So if you go to YouTube channel, just a few weeks back, we have uploaded a video regarding this, so you can watch. And he describes about all types of diseases, and one of the disease you mentioned is definitely you get the answer there.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shashank, and sorry to interrupt. And time is
very nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shashank. If you have any questions, any further questions, sorry to interrupt again. You can always contact Deepak later, or you can subscribe to our channel. You get other videos to watch, and then it might be get answered. If you guys ever have any questions to Deepak, you can always contact him. Deepak, if you can put your email ID for them to contact you, that would be great. With that, I would like to thank you, Deepak, again for giving such a wonderful presentation, giving you a whole lot of idea about aquarium. Those who are a starter or intermediate in the aquarium keeping, you guys got a lot of information, I guess. And thank you again for all the listeners to coming back and then listen to our webinars. Please keep coming. Like I said before, you have this feedback form just now Deepak has included in the chat box. So those who have not done it, please go ahead and click on that link and then give us a feedback, your feedback about our talks, and that will help us to improve. You guys gave us the strength to grow this far, and then we want to still continue growing. So please give your feedback, and that will help us. Thank you. Thank you again for coming to the talk.